called it First War of Indian Independence, which was a different kind of thing. First War of Indian Independence. He was the first European to have seen very keenly this particular thing, and he defined it. Later on, many Indians, many of the freedom struggle people here also took up the same position, First War of Indian Independence, or the Great Rebellion as such. They didn't call it Sepoy Mutiny, because Sepoy Mutiny was a very limited term. A soldier is not supposed to disobey his officers. A soldier's duty is to fight, to obey the orders of his superiors, fight for the kingdom, fight for the king, and so on and so forth. That is it. And if he doesn't do, then it is a mutiny. So the English saw it as Sepoy Mutiny. Then the other people, right from Marx down to Savarkar in India, they saw it as First War of Indian Independence as such. That this was an expression of independence. Now, it was a massive revolt which started in May 1857. And it's one of the major hub was Lucknow city itself. Varanasi was not that affected for various reasons as such. You know, this revolt had various kind of ramifications as such. One has to understand that the three big metropolitan cities of India, Calcutta, Madras, and Bombay, they were not affected by it. They had nothing to say about it. They, as a matter of fact, were usually contemptuous and were negative about it. Because there was a new thing happening in Calcutta. There was a new thing happening in Bombay. Also to some extent in Madras. Why? Because new classes were being created. For the first time, the Indian middle class, new middle class was being created, who got in touch with the European knowledge system and so on and so forth, science and so on and so forth. So they were not interested in anything else except of going ahead with this kind of newly acquired knowledge, and very fresh new classes were emerging as such. This is why it is called that the 19th century Renaissance in India started from Calcutta as such. Its products were Rabindranath Tagore, its products were many people as such. But in 1857, Calcutta was completely silent, and as a matter of fact, to some extent, negative about 1857. They had no sympathy. They thought it is disorder. Same thing was in Bombay. Same thing was in Madras. The other thing that happened, that and that is connected with the armies again as such. In the first defeat of the Indian sovereign happened in, say, 1757. 1757. It is called Battle of Plassey. It is just near Calcutta, where the first Governor General of India, Robert Clive, with a very small army, defeated the huge army of Siraj-ud-Dowlah, who was the Nawab of Bengal. Now, during this Battle of Plassey, where the empire started really its business and its dominance over India as well, what were the basic factors? Why it could come really? What was the basic thing? There are historical observations like Siraj-ud-Dowlah had a huge army, but as you can see, I'm saying you saw, I think yesterday we saw the film, day before yesterday. We saw the film on by Satyajit Ray, the chess players. How the feudal arts had decayed, how they had become completely obsessed there with their own personal life as such, and they had no sense of people around them, their own money, their own family, their own pleasures as such. There was nothing beyond that. This is decadence of the culture as such. So decadence of the culture was also very much obvious with all the Nawabs as such, including the Nawab of Bengal, Mr. Abdul as such. And also the kind of structures they had made. Like they moved their army, they would bring the army, a lot of elephants, this and that, etc., etc. They will bring their harem also over there. They will bring huge number of what we call bawarchis, Lucknow, apparels, bawarchis, those who make very good food, etc. So different kind of food. There should be 6 kitchens or so, something like that. One should make Rogan Josh, one should make Giloti kebab and so on and so forth. And now if you are more engaged into that, you are not going to find out that as such. We are still living in the same old hangover of your own imperial, your own Nawabi imperial ambience as such. And compared to that, Lord Clive, who was a very petty clerk in the East India Company, and he led the British Army with some Indians into it also. They were ferocious and they were focused, and they had better technology also. They were organized also. So they defeated. They defeated. This is what has been happening one after another. Particularly in chess players, they have shown it that how the British Army is entering into Lucknow, and how the people who were supposed to be Nawabs, the 2 of them, were just interested to play their chess and nothing else. And then they found out that perhaps the army, British Army will take over Lucknow, and then if the Wazid Ali Shah, the last Nawab, decides to fight out the British, they will have to be enlisted as in the war game as one of the commanders. So they got afraid, they got frightened, they moved to a village, and they started playing their chess again. So this was the sense of responsibility and nationalism that develops as such. The absence of that, the decadence of the class as such. It starts right from there. And if the the British would win, there was a reason for that also. There were definite reasons as such. They had very clever policy network built up to tackle the questions as such. As a matter of fact, the East India Company army was largely built of soldiers from this area, this our area. They were all from our, most 3/4 of the army was ours. They were called also Puraviya, because this is eastern part of India. This is eastern part of India in of course, far eastern is Nagaland and Assam and so on and so forth. Deeper eastern is again Bengal and so on and so forth, and eastern India. But this is where the east starts, eastward journey. So east has a name. It's called Purab. Purab is eastern. Pashchim is western. So Purab. So these soldiers were called Puraviya. The soldiers from the eastern part of India. And 3/4 of them were recruited right from this area. This 2 rivers cross this area. This is called Ganga, Jamuna, Doam. Ganga and Jamuna. And out of that they were part of peasantry as well. And Warren Hastings, the second most important empire builder in the country, was very particular that he will recruit in his army only the upper caste people as such. Because he had, of course, the defeated army of Sirajuddaula also in the Islamite, but he didn't believe in them, didn't have trust in them. Because most of them were Muslims, and most of them were people who were from Bengal and so on and so forth. So he thought that they may revolt against the empire. So he tried to induct soldiers from this particular area, which was about 600 kilometers away, 600 miles away on this area. And that to upper caste, the Kshatriyas and Brahmins and so on and so forth, who later on became the revolt leaders as such. There is another thing which is a structural question with the 1857. 1857 had very little repercussions, very little echo in Western India, in South India. Why? The British East India Company army was also there. But what happened in East India Company army in Western India and South India, they were different kind of people. Naturally, in South India they were Tamilians. In Western India, they had even the untouchables. The Mahar regiment was there, who were not taken up as soldiers who were here. They were not in rebellious mood against the empires. As a matter of fact, they were slightly grateful that, particularly the untouchables, because they were never recruited in army and they were picked up by the British to become part of armies. So these were the things as such. So it was quiet. Number one, the new emerging anglicized middle class and the elite in these new metropolitan towns. And second, because of the structural competition of the East India Company Army in the rest of India. But in North India, the army was recruited largely from this area. And the most significant figure who, on whom there is a film also, Mangal Pandey, he was about 80 kilometers away from Varanasi, a Brahmin who was one of the initiators as well. So he was very much from Eastern UP and Bihar and this area, but this caste structure also, the Rajputs and the Brahmins and so on and so forth. The other thing that I would like to emphasize upon, primarily how British saw it. And there I will like to tell you how the people who were really for about 148 days, the British population was almost under house arrest in the residency, of course guarded by the British Army and the local people also, and they fought a desperate battle to survive. So how did they function? It is a huge area of about 60 acres or so, where the residency was built. How did they so these were the English people and their diet. Many of these people, particularly the women in the houses, not the men, but the women in houses, have eaten their diaries day after day, because they were one who were suffering most. Men were also suffering. They were getting killed on the gate, but women were behind, their children were dying, there was no food, there was smallpox and cholera, the hospital was overloaded, they didn't have people to treat as well, and it was a very difficult situation in residency for 148 days, till they were relieved ultimately by further regiments which came from Punjab and Gurkha soldiers from the British side and Madras regiment who came from the South Indians. They were one who were relieved. They fought against the rebellious East India Company armies. I can read you a little bit that that I'm some big, these women, I'm very significant writing, and incidentally they are all women writing. They have written, there is one lady, her name is Flora Annie Still, and she wrote a novel in 1850. And she was married to a British Australia, and she came down and she saw. And she, of course, came at a better period when the rebellion had quieted